Matthew Hopkins was a British Joe McCarthy type who in the 17th century claimed to have the devil's list of all the witches in England. Just as Tail Gunner Joe's list of 160,000 communists or heterosexuals or whatever it was shaped the domestic policy of his nation, so Matthew Hopkins made a thriving living chasing down witches and, to a lesser extent, warlocks in East Anglia 300 years ago. Hopkins was paid £23 for a day's work at a time when the average wage was 6p a day. He was an industrious witchfinder and hanged 68 women in Suffolk and 100 in Bury St Edmunds. In the fiscal year of 1665 to 66, Matthew Hopkins made over £1,000. Tonight's film, the story of Matthew Hopkins, featuring an old Moviedrome favourite, Vincent Price, was the object of considerable outcry over its gratuitous violence. When it first came out, it was embroiled in a controversy similar to that surrounding Michael Powell's infamous Peeping Tom. Today, inevitably, in the wake of the Freddy saga, Friday the 13th, and Michael Douglas, it seems relatively tame. Vincent Price is, as you might imagine, the best thing in it. Untroubled by his accent, he cuts a swath through England during the Civil War, behaving for all the world like a misogynist serial killer and would-be parliamentary appointee. Witchfinder General was made by Tygon British Pictures. Tygon were at the time the principal rival of Hammer horror films, and so you can expect to find the same impenetrable day-for-night shots, the same endless tortured yells, the same attention to period detail and heaving breasts as you would in a carry-on film. Something else Witchfinder General has in common with the British comic cinema is the presence of Wilfrid Bramble, alias Old Man Steptoe, in the role of Master Coach. Also look out for a cameo by Patrick Wymark as Oliver Cromwell. The film was shot like TV by one Johnny Coquillian, who went on to become John Coquillian, cinematographer of Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, Straw Dogs, Cross of Iron, and The Osterman Weekend. All in all, this is a fairly routine Price horror movie with none of the excessive genius of the Roger Corman Edgar Allan Poe films. The American title of Witchfinder General was The Conqueror Worm, a line from a poem by Poe, presumably chosen to cash in on the success of the Corman films. Nevertheless, it has a certain cultish fame and is a pretty pervasive warning against over-associating with black cats or stoats. Witchfinder General, directed in 1968 by Michael Reeves, who at the time was one of the great hopes of British cinema. He died shortly after finishing this film.